On this inside line, I'm going to show you how I took a very inexpensive universal bed rack and made it work perfectly on my 2020 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon, and how I mounted my rooftop tent on the cheap. So when I started this bed rack journey, one of the main things I wanted was something that had enough load capacity to haul a rooftop tent, but wasn't going to be overly difficult to remove. So if I wanted to put my dirt bike in the back, it wasn't going to be a big deal. Now there are plenty of Gladiator specific racks, but they are fairly expensive, and some of them are pretty in-depth, and you're not really just going to be tossing it on and off. I wanted something simple. So I started looking at universal rack systems, and that's how I came up with this AA rack. It's an aluminum low profile rack. Now I picked this thing up for around $230 some odd. Has a rating of 300 pounds for on-road and 180 pounds off-road. So that's going to be that more dynamic load range. And my rooftop tent fits within that category, so I can actually still have it on the back of here and go off-roading. That's a big deal. So what I needed to do to get this to work on this truck, I wasn't sure, so I went ahead and ordered it. I knew that this style bracket was not going to work if I had a trail rail system, which I did not. So beyond that, everything else looked like it would clamp in place. What I didn't really expect is how wide these bars were going to be. Now this bar length is 79 inches. Now this kit is designed for both a mid-size and full-size truck. And realistically, I could probably keep it the width that they send it. It's not terrible, but I would rather have it tighter to the bed line. So my plan is to get these brackets bolted up. Pretty simple install for that. And then I'm going to cut down each one of these bars to give it a little bit of a sleeker look for the vehicle. It'll still allow it to haul the tent that I want to. And given these racks are about 3.5 inches, it's very similar width to some of the Yakima accessories that I already own. So if I ever wanted to put flat mount or platform mount bike rack on here or anything like that, I could. So these are pretty handy for that. So let's check it out, show you what it took to get this on here and what it takes to mount a tent up to this system. While AA wants you to go ahead and mount your bars to the landing pads before putting them on the truck, since I want to put the bars up and then remove them to trim them out, I'm going to go ahead and put up my landing pads. Now to do so, you put down this rubber strip that already comes pre-cut, then you're going to put the landing pad on top of that. In terms of clamping it down, you actually get 2 clamps per landing pad, and it goes right underneath the factory bed rail, and this clamp goes right on top. Now I'm not going to secure everything in place until I'm 100% that everything's square and where I want it, but so far I've measured it out. It looks good. So we're going to go ahead and bolt these down and then get to the actual rails and see how much I want to trim off to kind of give it that more squared finished look. Okay, with the mounting clamps loosely in place, went ahead and put the bars up here. Now, as I mentioned, these are really designed for a full-size truck, being that they're 79 inches wide. Now, evened up, you're going to have about 1/2 inch of bar sticking out past the factory fender flare on the Rubicon. It doesn't look terrible. You know, it's sort of par for the course. Most of these bars typically will stick out in general. I don't care for it. I don't want to run the risk of this thing grabbing a tree and damaging the bed. So I'm going to push it in and line it up with the side of the bed. I think that gives it just enough bar where it looks pretty sleek and it keeps it nice and protected. So I'm going to grab the Sawzall and get to trimming. this kit comes with these handy slide tie downs. So they go into this little center groove here, and you get a total of 4 of them. So for right now, they'd be in the way of the rooftop tent, so I left them off. I considered putting them underneath since the rail has a bottom runner too as like an extra tie down point, but I think for now I'm just going to hang tight, keep them off of here, but hold on to them. The other thing, there's a strip of rubber for the top and the bottom that was included with this. It's meant to help with whistle. I don't think that's going to be a huge problem with these, but again, I'm putting the rooftop tent on here, so I don't really need anything else that's going to make it hard for me to slide that heavy tent on these rails. So my Simpson Series 3 tent actually fits on the back of the Gladiator fairly well. Now I have this position where it'll open to the passenger side whenever I'm ready to actually use it. Now, putting it on, I realized a few things. Number one, the hardware that I had was too short, so I got some new M8 by 70 millimeter bolts that's going to allow it to pass the actual bar itself. Now, the bar width is 3 1/8 of an inch, so it's a little off from where I used to have this thing mounted, but I should be able to reuse these mounts I made a little while ago. Now, because dad life or whatever, I've misplaced 1 or 2 of those brackets, so I'm going to remake some out of this 1.5 1/4-inch thick flat bar, cut it down, drill some holes, and that'll allow me to bolt it up to the bar without an issue. So just take me a few minutes to get this knocked out, and then we can go test this thing out. So here's sort of a quick walk around of the setup. I'm pretty happy with how fast and easy it is to undo the tent. The big trick here is trying to get the truck level and make sure that, you know, you're sort of set up square. This Gladiator's got the soft top on it. You can't actually extend the other pole for this tent. Now we're getting in the fall season. I'm not sweating that too much. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. Overall though, really happy with how it sits on here. It's still not, you know, obnoxiously tall any way you look at it. So very stable on here. I was a little concerned how soft the suspension was with the Gladiator and how this would feel like once you're in it, but it's really not bad. Okay, so let's take a little walk inside and see how I've got it set up. So before I put my bedding in here, I want to show you a couple things. Maybe the most important is the mattress setup. So the Simpson Series 3 comes with this foam mattress. This is actually this lower one here, comes sealed up. It's a nice durable case. However, my kiddo did not like how stiff it was, so I ended up adding an additional foam topper, and man, it's very comfortable in here now. The nice thing is I got this from Amazon, super cheap, but you can fold the tent with it, so you don't have to take it out. So I really like that. We typically would just put a queen size sheet on this, and then if depending on how many people are part of the family are squeezing in here, whether it's sleeping bags or a big blanket, these bungees that you see that are running across, they're actually designed to help keep the material folded in, so when you fold the tent it doesn't like push out the sides. You'll take those down when you use it. We sleep with our head at that end, feet at this end. It you know, it's pretty stable. If you've got the kids in here and 2 adults, you know, it'll definitely make the truck rock. It's not that big of a deal. I've 2 kiddos, and my older one is the one that likes to go camping, and so she and I really don't make a big difference when we're back here. All of the windows have this nice mesh on here, so if it's hot you can unzip it. I honestly don't like camping during the summer. I'm more of a colder weather camping guy, so this thing is usually sealed up and it's perfectly warm. I don't really have an issue with that. Just kind of bundle up and we're all good. Now, the obvious drawback of a low profile rack system with a fairly large tent on it is you pretty much lose your rear view mirror. Now, that's not a huge deal for me, as I usually have mine pointed toward my tiny humans in the back, so that's no big deal. Now, the benefit though is you're taking a vehicle that's already not very aerodynamic and you're not hurting it. You know, having the rack taller or having a rooftop tent where it was sticking above the roof would definitely make a difference. This, you don't hardly notice it. If anything, I really like the added weight in the back, because with this stock Rubicon suspension, it's a little soft, and this helps it kind of be a little bit more planted. It doesn't feel as bouncy, so that is one positive in terms of overall handling. The added weight doesn't seem to be enough to make a huge difference in terms of the stance of the vehicle. You know, and other than it being a little inconvenient in the fact that you really need two people to easily put the tent on the back, I'm pretty happy with the setup overall. Now, I don't plan on keeping this tent on here all the time. You know, my kiddos are really digging it right now. They want to go camping. It's getting cooler, so this is like a great time of year to do it. Overall off-road so far, it's been pretty planted. Haven't had any issue with it shaking around or any of the brackets coming loose, so that's good. I mean, it runs the same style of like latching system as most of these tents do, so I haven't really changed a lot there. Overall, pretty happy with this rack. You know, for 234 bucks and a little bit of modification, I'm stoked on the overall fitment of it, how it works, how it looks. I think there's some, you know, good opportunities to do more with it, so I'm very happy about that. So we'll see. I've got some cool stuff in the works for this Gladiator coming up very soon. So I hope you guys are liking these videos, subscribing, doing all that good stuff. If you've got any questions for me, you can always find me at Ali Mansour Editor on Instagram. And, you know, hopefully there will be some more normalcy coming, and we can get on some more real adventures with these project Jeeps. But until then, hope to see you guys on the trail soon.